What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Face Off Sports Network. I'm your host, Anthony Servino. Follow me on X at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at the FF Face Off and at fffaceoff.com. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. Back with me on a Football Friday, Pete Nova at Supernova 38. Steve D'Angelo back from vacation at Fantasy Savvy. Guys, what's going on?
What's up, boys? It's good to be back. I ended my holdout. Training camp has begun. I am back. Anthony has given me a nice lucrative contract, so I am back in the building now. I was away in New Jersey. I vacation in New Jersey now. People go to Europe. They go to Florida. They go to California. I go back to New Jersey to vacation. But I'll tell you what, man, the Jersey Shore is the best time to be there. It's a great spot. People don't really, if they've never been there, they don't understand. Bouncing back and forth up and down the Parkway, going to New York City. My wife and I celebrated our 10-year anniversary, her birthday. So it was a great trip. The kids had a ton of fun. I was trying to stay up as much as possible and everything. Listen to a ton of podcasts. Listen to you guys. You guys have been holding it down, doing an excellent job. I see the YouTube subscriptions and views are going way up. So let's keep that momentum going. Got back, a little bit last week. Got the NCAA game. And Pete was talking a little bit of shit. I had to take him down a couple of times. So I had to mention that real quick because Pete, sorry, bro. You're going to have to give it. Anthony was telling you the truth, bro. You can't run the Army offense. You got to really come out with a different offense than that.
I'm not even going to get into it. I won't stop talking about it if we talk about it. So let's just move past that. All right, let's just move past that.
All right, that's fair enough. Wait till you beat me, and then you'll want to.
Yeah, that once I beat you, then we could talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Lot of good stuff going on around the league. We got a pretty full slate of news to go through. So yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go. I'm rocking and rolling. It's a Friday, and usually we do best ball, right? And that's been our Friday thing. But there's been so much going on that I feel like this is probably more beneficial for the viewers to listen and kind of hear our thoughts on what's going on. So yeah, ready to go.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start with a couple news tidbits, and then we will get into the main talking points, which are fantasy football storylines heading into training camp. As we know, this week, all teams have finally reported to training camp. Some players who should be there are either there and not practicing, or they're not there at all. Regardless, most of the teams and players are where they need to be. Let's start with a player that, if you've listened to the show through the years, we've talked about a lot. A lot of us, including Steve and myself, have been in, and it's burned us. And I'm not quite ready to buy back in. That is J.K. Dobbins. The report on Dobbins, he's been a full participant in Chargers training camp. And on the other side, Jaret Patterson has been getting second-team reps ahead of Vidal with Gus Edwards hurt. So even that second part is significant because Vidal was going pretty decently high, all things considered, in ADP. And here's Jaret Patterson getting those number 2 reps.
Yeah, I saw this. Jaret Patterson comes over from, the Commanders. He was there last year. Kind of a camp story with him. Didn't really do much. And I mean, just feels like another guy. I'm not really going to read too much into this myself. I still like Kamani Vidal in this room if I'm going to take a shot on any of these guys. So I know Gus Edwards is also a little banged up right now. So I know he's taken the number 2 reps because of that, but I'm not buying into J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. Maybe I'll throw some anytime touchdown scorers on him this year, but Vidal is the guy I want at that price, to be honest.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Dobbins, we both love this guy last couple years. Last year, he was my most owned player. To see him go down in week 1 was a complete disaster. We've heard this from him before where he says, I feel great. I'm going to come back. He's saying it the same things again this year, but this time he's coming back not just from a major knee surgery, now an Achilles, which is the complete blow for most running backs. This is just a year removed. We've seen what Dante Foreman, like 2 or 3 years removed from that, performed pretty well. So, I'm tempted, man, because like the situation is like perfect with Harbaugh. I mean, it's Gus Edwards who has his own surgery going. You got Vidal, who's just a 6th-round pick. You got Jared Patterson, who's never done anything, moving ahead of him, supposedly. So, like, it's all set for Dobbins right now. You can get him, like, I'm looking at the NFC, like, he's moving up a little bit. 11th round. You get him later on. I've been, clicking on him because he's just sitting there. So I'll take my Dobbins shares once again. I don't want to go too crazy. Last year I got completely burnt, but I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm going to get, hook, line, and sinkered in here again by Dobbins. I just hope he doesn't burn me again because he is the most talented back on this team if he could somehow stay healthy and battle off all these freaking crazy-ass injuries he's had. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Dobbins. I'm rooting for him. It's a great situation with Harbaugh, and he really doesn't have to beat out too much. So I'm very, very interested still in J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I that was my bad too. I was trying to pull up this clip, but I was too busy plugging the show. But here's just a little sneak peek at Dobbins. Nothing crazy.
Slide cut on 3. Slide vertical over the top to make a move up.
So that was Gus Edwards behind him. Gus looks pretty slow, but that was never really his game, I guess. So I don't want to ding him too much, but yeah. So we have some people in here as well. Zach says, "Let's go, guys. Need my info." Will is in here. What's up? He said, "Good evening." Jamie said, "What's up, guys?" And Big Draft Energy, one of our new guys that's been popping in. He says, "Smash those likes and those smelling salts. Let's fucking go."
Yeah, right.
Big Draft Energy said he is a meathead. I was on his show the other day, and so he said that it seems like Anthony might be one as well. So another fellow meathead.
What is the definition of a meathead? Gym guy, gym stuff, right?
I think it's usually a gym guy that's usually pretty big, not like a CrossFit kind of guy.
Yeah,
you got to be a little, you got to be a little thick to be a meathead, I would think. So
I don't even know what CrossFit is. So there's a start and the end of that conversation. But let's
fucking meathead. I don't think Anthony's a meathead.
That's like
an old school. That's like an old school term. My father used to say that shit all the time. Meathead.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Nah. It's like when he got pissed off at somebody, you call him a fucking meathead. Go ahead.
Let's go to another piece of news here. Kyren Williams, we'll go to the Rams and this backfield because this also fits into the main premise of the show. And this is one of the training camp, I guess we can call it battles or storylines to watch. Kyren Williams, and this is from Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson, not a beat writer. He is Yahoo's national beat writer. Think of him like another Albert Breer or a Rappaport. And he believes Kyren Williams is the clear number one for the Rams heading into this season.
Yeah. Did you want me to play the clip here too of just McVay, and then we can give our thoughts on it?
Let's roll the clip first, and let's get in with cadence here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hey, I think the thing we got to be smart is once we get into the regular season in terms of the amount of touches, but we'll be smart. We're always intentional about what those guys' workload progressions look like, but you don't get better at football without practicing, and you know that, Adam. But when I've kind of talked about that, what I'm mainly talking about is the amount of carries that he did a great job of being able to handle last year. But if you want to be able to hopefully get an opportunity to play after those 17 games, hopefully stay healthy through those 17, knowing what an instrumental part he's going to be, you want to be smart about that. And so that's where we can be mindful of it. But in the meantime, he's going to lead the way for that running back room. And I thought he started off on the right foot today.
So, I mean, it sounds like nothing. It's pretty much status quo. Last year, from an opportunity share standpoint, there really wasn't much to go around unless Kyren was hurt. Pretty much bell cow lead back. I know there's some worry about the foot that he was held out of OTAs. mini camp this year, and a smaller back who's dealt with injuries in the past, but those Blake Corum truthers may have to pump the brakes a little bit unless you're banking on Kyren to have an injury. But it seems like this is Kyren's backfield, which a lot of people believe in. So it'll be interesting to see if that shifts any of the ADP up or down. We know how volatile the market is, so we'll maybe have to cover that next week on our Wednesday show as well.
Yeah, this is like one of the most interesting decisions and backfields this year, because Kyren has moved all the way up to the second round, and a lot of people are calling him a bust. A lot of people are saying he's a big time fade because Corum is there, third round pick out of Michigan. I believe he had a better season the year before than last year in college. But it's really crazy because Kyren Williams, he was an afterthought coming into last year. I mean, we heard McVay talking about Cam Akers and how he was going to get this big load, and then freaking Cam Akers was shunned after 1 week, basically thrown to the curb. And we've seen him do that multiple times, with Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers before. So who's to say he won't do this with Kyren at some point? And Kyren has had struggled with some injuries, ankle sprains, foot fracture, hip contusions. He had different injuries. So he's had something early in camp. Corum, third round pick. You get him in the 9th round. I think it's a good, if you take Kyren in the second round, I think you got to get Corum in the 9th round just to handcuff that, because if Corum does step into that role, we saw how much usage Kyren had last year and how much of a beast he was, just getting all that use, getting all those touchdowns, catching all those passes. So if Corum could somehow step in, whether through injury or whether through some kind of timeshare, that really could pay off dividends getting him in the 9th round. So I think if you're going after Kyren, you got to get Corum. I think it's a smart move to do that.
Yeah, right now Corum's ADP, it is slipping a little bit, down 5.1 spots. Kyren up 2.4 spots. I'm using July ADP, FFPC Fantasy Pros contest. I'm buying a little bit of Corum as he slips because I view him as an elite handcuff. And Steve, when you bring in the past with Sean McVay, the last time he had anything close to the type of running back that he has with Kyren Williams, it was Todd Gurley. And Todd Gurley was always the guy when he was healthy. I'm not saying Kyren Williams is Todd Gurley with that type of talent and hype, but Kyren Williams is pretty damn close when you look at what he gave us last year. And I think if Sean McVay trusts Kyren Williams when it comes to, hey, he's not going to put the ball on the ground, he's reliable, he's productive, then maybe he does stick with him, and we do see Blake Corum kind of, just fade back into that elite handcuff, that Zach Charbonnet role. So I'm buying into this report.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I think, again, we talk about the rookies. They come in. It's exciting. Look, he comes from Michigan, a school with great pedigree, right? And he was good there, Corum. But Kyren's did everything you could possibly ask for him and more last season. So I think he's earned the right to to pretty much lose the job. And I don't really see that happening unless there's an injury. I know Jamie's in here. He said he's smashing the gas on Corum. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're worried about Kyren's injuries, like Corum's not a bad stash. Jamie said 2022 Corum was talked about as a first-round talent, but he went back to school to win a championship. Okay. And then Big Draft Energy said, I don't trust McVay. He made us all believe that Cooper Kupp was good to go until he ended up on the PUP. Yeah, I think injuries are a little bit different when it comes to coach speak, and you want to give you don't want to really tip your hand. And I think he just was trying to do the right thing with Cooper Kupp, and just injuries and coach speak is a little bit different to me. But I don't know. I think the Rams showed us everything they needed to. I think this is probably a year where they'll grind Kyren to the dirt as much as they can, and then they invested in Corum, and they'll probably give Corum a shot next year.
It was interesting in that interview you put up. He was talking about him sustaining, throughout the whole season. So I mean, it's kind of like hinting maybe they're going to try to incorporate Corum at some point. But I mean, who's to say? Is Corum gonna shine when he gets his chance, being a rookie. But in that system, I think he will do fairly well if he does get a chance. I mean, I'm not a huge Corum guy. I'm not as big on him as others. Some people has them, had the most talented running back coming out of the draft. I don't agree with that, but yeah, if he gets a shot in this system somehow, but I do think, yeah, it might have to be an injury first. It's just kind of scary to me to click on Kyren in the second round. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Let's go.
I feel that.
Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. Let's stick to the NFC West, and this is Michael Wilson. I like Michael Wilson a lot. He had a nice little finish to the season last year, and the report on Michael Wilson, this does not shock me at all. And the Arizona Republic reports that Wilson is running ahead of free agent addition Zay Jones at the start of training camp. I think this is Wilson's job to lose. Obviously, we know Marcus Harrison Jr. is going to be the alpha. I think Wilson should be the number 2 in 2 wide sets. That number 3 spot between Zay and Dortch. I know a lot of people like Dortch. Dortch is just a guy. Zay Jones, he's been productive almost everywhere he's been. Small sample size, but he does have these pop games. And I think when it's all said and done, these starters in 3 wide sets are going to be Wilson, Harrison, and Zay Jones, with Dortch kind of being the odd man out.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was on my side, but the clip seemed to cut up there. Look, I like Michael Wilson. I liked him coming out of college. Decent size, 6'2", 213 pounds, decent wingspan. I think he ranked in terms of next gen stats. His combine athleticism score was 16th in the draft when he came out. Ran a 4.58, right? Like decent athleticism. They actually compared him to Mac Hollins, which is kind of interesting. I don't really see a Mac Hollins comp there. In my opinion,
Collins is like 6'4", isn't he? 6'5".
Yeah, this is on NFL Prospects on NFL.com. But yeah, I think the problem with Michael Wilson was more so in college. He only played 14 games over his last 3 seasons, held up easily by press coverage, a lot of wasted motions and stuff like that. But I actually liked Michael Wilson coming out of college. I prefer Greg Dortch in this offense at their cost, to be honest. I know Anthony doesn't love him, but I think what Dortch provides is something that Michael Wilson and the other guys around, like Zay Jones and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, like they're all similar in stature. They're all over 6 foot, around 6'2", 6'3", and I think Dortch is going to run a lot of the underneath slot work, and so and now that Rondale Moore's gone, I think it opens up a path for him. So I prefer Dortch, but it's good to see Michael Wilson getting some love.
Yeah, I did like Wilson coming in last year too. Was kind of an okay rookie season for him, but Murray was also coming back from an ACL. He played later in the season, so he's a year removed from that. So he should get a little bit better. I know that their offense was kind of funky. It was the first year, coaching system. He was kind of checking down a lot, but now they bring in Marvin Harrison, McBride second year. They got Trey Benson now, so I don't know. I mean, I've been clicking on Michael Wilson a little bit, mostly in best ball. I don't know, now that we're approaching redraft season, I'm really going to be going after Michael Wilson too much. I think it's going to be a lot of Harrison and McBride. They're going to command a lot of targets with Connor. So, I mean, if you really believe in the talent, I'm not all the way there yet. But, yeah, I think he could definitely hold his job as the second receiver. Zay Jones, he's okay. It's so – go ahead. What do you say?
Zay's also, the reports is that he's going to compete with Dortch for the primary slot role. If you look at Mike Wilson, final 2 games, finished as a top 24 receiver in week 17, week 18. Week 17 against Philly, it's not like Philly packed it up. That game meant something, and I believe Arizona won that one. And then in week 18 in Seattle, another meaningful game to the Seahawks. They were playing for something. And these are 2 games where Michael Wilson stepped up. And I think he was operating as a wide receiver 1, possibly. I'm not sure of the health status of Hollywood Brown at that point. But something
for
to hang our
95,
hats
yeah.
on. Yeah, solid. And then he scored a touchdown in week 17 against Philly. Something to at least build off of. And he's cheap. And this Cardinals defense, I get Gaddon's a defensive coordinator or a defensive-minded head coach. They're going to have to throw a lot. The defense still needs talent. So I think they're going to be throwing the ball. And they get people like, oh, if Kyler, he's going to run. And John and Connor's going to run. They have to throw the football. If this defense is bad, just like what I say about the Chargers, I get what the coaches want to do. But if the defense can't hold up and they're trailing, they're going to have to throw. So I think Arizona, there's some hidden target opportunity here for Michael Wilson.
Yeah. I think Kyler's also a good player to go after this year too. Again, year removed. He's got Harrison. He's got McBride. And they bring in Zay Wilson second year. So, yeah, I kind of like it. But I've been going after Wilson a little bit best ball. Yeah. But, yeah, I think Arizona's offense should definitely be improved from last year for sure.
Let's go.
The only thing one more thing I wanted to mention about Dortch, and this is me digging in here because, again, we love to talk about players that don't matter. But
yeah, we do.
Dortch,
we always talk about it.
Yeah, right. Dortch was actually taking handoffs too in practice. I've seen some of that. So it seems like they like his athleticism and they just want to find ways to get him involved. So not that it matters. He's not going to be a starting running back, but it seems like they're going to.
Dortch is the guy you pick up like week 9 for like $7 and you start him for 2-3 weeks and then you drop him again.
Listen, Kyler Murray said if Greg Dortch was 6'3", he'd be a top 5 pick. That's all I'm saying. Those are his words, not mine. Ronaldo Torres said Sheesh Wilson is the number 3 because of McBride. Zay Wilson or Dortchy are going to win you a championship. I don't know about that.
Dorothy. He said Dorothy. There you go.
Ronaldo is one of our new moderators, so we appreciate you popping in, Ronaldo. If you got any questions, let us know. Anthony, take us to the next thing. I know we want to move it along here so we can get to the main parts.
Yeah. So next thing is Justin Fields. If you want to play the, actually, let me set up the clip. So the Athletics, Mark Cabaloy, longtime Steelers beat writer, reporting what we probably already know, reporting exactly why Chicago moved off of Justin Fields. He's remained plagued, and plagued is in quotations, by a lack of consistency since joining the Steelers.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to roll the clip.
Roll the clip.
Nothing sexy, nothing flashy, just to give you a little taste of what's going on. I know Russell Wilson actually in other news too. He I guess has a calf strain. He woke up. I don't know if maybe he wasn't hydrated enough and he got cramps. I have no idea what's going on. But for every clip that I've seen from the Steelers looked kind of gross. Their defense looks like they're eating the offense alive. Now it is early and new offensive coordinator. It's going to take some time to have an offense gel, and the defense is usually ahead of the offense this early in camp. So I'm not going to completely worry about it, but I'm still banking on Russell Wilson being the guy to hold this job for a minimum of 60 to 70% of the season.
Yeah, it's a calf injury for Russ. Tomlin said, we want to keep it getting, something minor going major. So it seems like it could be a little something. I mean, we had Burrow last year with the calf injury as well. And that kind of, hobbled him a little bit early. I mean, there's plenty of time to get ready. But as far as Justin Fields, I'm not going to buy too much of some old time Steelers reporter. Fucking, it's fucking Fields got fucking done dirt by the fucking Bears. So I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's coming into Pittsburgh. It's a new system. Give him a little time. I think Arthur Smith, if he gets to start with Arthur Smith, I think that's going to be a good thing for Fields, because he did like to run a lot with Mariota. I think, we're kind of forgetting what Fields did as a runner. I mean, 1,000 yards a couple of years ago. Last year, he was smashing with DJ Moore. He missed a month. If he didn't miss a month, I mean, that would have been one of the best stacks in fantasy football last year. So, that could be him and George Pickens. So what I've been doing with Justin Fields is, like, if I'm in a best ball draft and I need a third or maybe a fourth quarterback, I click on him because not a lot of people are going to do that. And if you get 7-8 weeks out of Fields, or if you get into the, the end stretch and he starts running for 70, 80 yards a game, a couple touchdowns, I mean, that's going to be something that not a lot of people have. So I've been doing it from that aspect.
Listen, I get drafting and why draft Justin Fields in fantasy. His ADP is going higher than some starters the last time I checked, which is fine. But the Steelers are in the business, like they're making the playoffs, seems like year after year with junk quarterback play. They brought Russell Wilson in to go get them possibly a division, possibly a playoff win or more. I don't see a world like if there was a time like this is the perfect storm. Russell Wilson's dealing with the cap. All right, Justin Fields, this is your time to tell us why we put you in over Russ. And it just doesn't sound like Justin Fields is trying to take this job. So I just don't see a world because they didn't pay anything. They barely paid a late round draft, day three draft pick.
No, they didn't give up anything for
One
for
year
Fields. Yeah,
was
my bad. I thought you switched to Russ. I was going to say because they didn't pay anything for Russ either.
And Russ was all right, like fantasy wise. And again, there was a lot of quarterbacks hurt. Quarterback 12 in points per game. Obviously, like a couple quarterbacks hurt that would have pushed him back. And the offensive situation was not great in Denver, and there was obviously turmoil with the head coach and Sean Payton. So I think this is a nice spot for Russell Wilson. And I'm not even that big of a Russ guy, but I think from an NFL point of view, he's going to be in a nice spot for Pittsburgh. Like this should be the best quarterback they've had since Big Ben.
Yeah, I agree. I think Russ should be able to keep that job. I think he's competent enough. It probably will take an injury. Just one quick thing. I'm looking back. If Fields does get a shot, Mariota 2 years ago, you have games where he got 13 carries, 12 carries, 8 carries. So, I mean, they're going to run Fields a ton. Arthur Smith's going to get giddy. So that's why I kind of like that best ball approach. Redraft, obviously, you're not taking them. Maybe super flex, obviously, you could take Fields. And then maybe you just hit the goal and Russ gets hurt and Fields comes in and he starts killing it for you.
We're going to go, before we get into our training camp, there is one nugget of breaking news that happened before we came on. That is obviously Tua. He got paid. This is just the next quarterback to get paid. I think the deal's right around 4-year, $212.4 million extension, $53 million per year average, puts him ranked third at the quarterback position. Whether you think he deserves it or not, this is just the quarterback market. This is what these guys are going to get paid. So to me, I was not willing. Like if I was the owner, I would want to see one more year out of Tua and maybe play the franchise tag game. I get he managed to stay healthy last year, but those concussions 2 years ago scare the hell out of me. He is potentially 1 or 2 hits to the head away from his career wrapping up. And the Miami Dolphins, they are not only very Tyreek Hill dependent, but they're probably Tua dependent. And also Tua, if we go back last season when Tyreek got hurt against Tennessee, Tua was not the same quarterback. So you're paying, again, this is a quarterback market. You are paying a hefty contract to a guy to not only is he, you got to watch that injury bug, but if his best player, Tyreek Hill, goes down, Tua's very much mediocre.
So, but I just want to mention we do have a question here on Facebook. Kyle, we'll get to you in just a moment. And then there was a couple other comments and questions about the Russ thing. But in terms of the Tua thing, the thing I worry about, and we're in a weird age now where the NFL has not become the NBA, but it has shifted slightly similar where some of the higher players, like, the quarterbacks and the higher valued players, have some pull. And this is a team that you have Tyreek Hill, you have Bradley Chubb that they made a trade for. Like, you have some of these guys, you have Raheem Mostert, like you have guys that are in a win now situation. And God forbid you don't pay Tua and he does decide to hold out. Like, you run the risk of, derailing a possible championship team. And so it's like, you pick your poison. Do you eat it and just pay him and just not deal with the headache? Or do you risk him holding out, which, I mean, when's the last time we really saw a quarterback not actually play? I can't really remember. But you risk the chance of the guy holding out. And then, And then say you start off slow, maybe he comes back after a few weeks of not getting a contract, and you lose a couple of games, you're putting yourself behind the wheel. And this is a team in Miami that needs to be at home in the playoffs. They need to be in warm weather. Like, this is a team I will not back in terms of being confident that they can be a Super Bowl contender unless they have home field advantage. If they're going to anywhere cold, and unless they're away in a dome or in Texas or in San Diego, which San Diego, the Chargers don't even play outside anymore. But unless they're going to a warm weather,
They don't even play San Diego anymore.
That's what I meant. And San Diego plays in a dome now, which not even San Diego.
Isn't that retractable? It's not retractable, that stadium?
It is.
Yeah.
But the point is, this team can't afford to be behind. They need the home field advantage in the playoffs, and it's unfortunate. But for what it's worth, he's an above average quarterback. In my mind, if the quarterback is above average, you pay him in this market. Average and below average, you let him walk like a Daniel Jones. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a tough spot. I mean, what are you going to do? You got to start. I like that. We got to get the Schwarzenegger Go Chargers going there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just the way things are floating. I mean, you're going to have to pay the next guy. The next guy is going to get a bigger contract than Tua. It's just the way it is. What are you going to do? You got Tyreek, you got Waddle. You're going to start over with some, random guys. So they had to get it done.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So yeah, I think Tua, he's accurate. He's a above average quarterback. I don't know if he'll ever take it to that next level. Now he certainly has the weapons between Waddle and Tyreek. But again, as Pete pointed out, they need that home field advantage. They're not going to win in Buffalo. They're not going to win in Kansas City. They need to go somewhere warm. I'm 100% agreement. And are they going to win that division this year with the Bills and now the Jets stepping up to the plate this year with Aaron Rodgers, hopefully staying healthy. So I think it's going to be the Dolphins coming up short again, probably somewhere cold. It's going to be -5. Tua's going to get, short balls, get picked at the end like he did last year. Same shit that happened. Everything needs to go right for them. They need to stay healthy with Tyreek, such a big piece. So, I mean, you got to pay the guy. The next guy is going to get an even bigger contract. What is Tua, the third highest quarterback now?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was 51.
At this rate, Dak's going to get $80 million.
All right. Well, let's not spend too much time on this. Kyle Sperando came in from Facebook. He said, Caleb Williams, boomer bust. I'll spin it to a fantasy because I don't know if you're talking real life or fantasy. I don't mind taking a shot on Caleb Williams in fantasy. If you're going to my thought, this is how I play in fantasy football. Either if I get one of these top 5 guys like a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson or Lamar, if I get one of those 5, I'm not drafting another quarterback until the Will Levises. In best ball it's different, but redraft, the difference between the difference in points between the quarterback 20 and the quarterback 15 is not that large. And so if you've already taken an elite quarterback, there's no reason. But if I am taking Caleb Williams, it's to pair him up with a Kirk Cousins, maybe pair him up with a Trevor Lawrence, right? Maybe a Tua, maybe a Brock Purdy. I'm trying to bunch those guys in that cluster and just hope what one of them hits.
Yeah.
But he's set up to succeed and he's got the weapons. So, he's worth a shot, but I'm not drafting a guy like him. Like I said, if I do land one of those top quarterbacks.
Yeah. So, I'm biased on Caleb. Did I get it right? Is it Caleb or Caleb? I'm biased because I was a Fields fan. Again, I talked about it earlier. They kicked him to the fucking curb. They brought in all these shiny new weapons for Khalil. So I think he's talented. I think he's very, very talented. I just question, is he going to be able to hold up in that city? When the weather is freaking, -10, the wind's blowing all around, his head freaking hits the turf like Fields' head. I mean, their offensive line is revamped. When Fields was playing there, it was a shit show. It got a little bit better the last 2 years. Now they bring in Keenan Allen. So I'm with you. If you want to go after Caleb, go get another quarterback or 2 just to have some insurance because, he's, for all the talent he has, he's still a rookie. It's still his first season. We don't know how he's going to react in his first year in the NFL. So you want to have, you could go and get a Herbert later or a Trevor Lawrence and just get something like, or an Aaron Rodgers or a Stafford as well, Kirk Cousins, something like that.
I'm not going to have I'll keep this short and sweet. I'm not going to have a lot of Caleb Williams in any format. I need to see it before I buy in. And I like Caleb. I'm warming up to him. But when you look at the quarterbacks going around Caleb Williams, again, FFPC Fantasy Pros Championship ADP, month of July. Caleb is going behind Goff and Purdy. He's going in front of Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins. I have no reason to draft Caleb Williams and take a chance when, and nothing's a sure thing in life in fantasy football, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to get out of a healthy Kirk Cousins in that offense. I'm pretty sure Justin Herbert, and again, I'm not even a big Herbert guy, but like I'm into McConkey. I'm into the fact that this defense is probably going to suck and they're going to have to throw a lot more. Trevor Lawrence, despite a bad year last year, still a top 12 quarterback in points per game. Tua, we just talked about him. High-powered offense. In nice weather, he's going to flourish and pop. So, like, I just don't see a reason to buy into Caleb Williams in his rookie year in redraft leagues. There's just no reason for me to take that chance.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say, too, is Caleb Williams plays in Chicago. It's a cold weather stadium. Like those guys that go around him, you have Brock Purdy, who plays in San Francisco, warm weather state. You have Jared Goff, who plays in a dome. And then he plays, they also play the Vikings in their division. Caleb Williams plays in a division where the Packers play outside, and then most of their home games are outside. So you got to play against the Packers. Like it's not great. I prefer one of those guys in those domes that are in, Tua, Brock Purdy, and Jared Goff are all three quarterbacks that are probably going to be in the top 5 to 10 in terms of best offenses in the NFL. So that's why I like them. One more thing, that was a question that came in. It was just about the Russ thing. It just said, what's the contingency on the Fields trade? Wasn't there a caveat that if he played 51% of the snaps, that the Steelers would have to get something extra? I did pull this while we were looking. Essentially, the trade was for a 2025 6th-round pick that could become a 4th-round selection based on playing time. I want to say he has to play, I believe it's 50% of the snaps, but I'm not exactly sure, so I'd have to look that up. But yeah, thanks for jumping in, Big Drafters. I know you're running a show soon, but we appreciate the feedback and support. And Ronaldo Torres said one thing. He said, I can't tell you he's going to be a boom, but I do think he will bust. He's got good pieces around. I don't think he will bust. He's got good pieces around him. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he could be a steady guy, but he is a rookie, so we just don't know. Greg is in here.
And that's why you're drafting him too, because you got all those other guys like Purdy, Tua, Goff that you could take. But if you're going to take Caleb and he's got Allen and Moore, that could be a little bit of a unique thing. Not a lot of people probably aren't doing that because you can get all those other guys. I'm not doing it, but it could. If Caleb pops, like being the number 1 pick he is and all the talent he is, it could work out. I doubt it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can move here.
Yeah.
Greg said he's here. He missed the live show. Greg, stay with us while we're live, and just stay in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, man. Thanks for jumping in. What are we moving to now, Anthony?
No, we are going to move into some training camp storylines that could and probably will impact fantasy football. Let's start with something. Crazy that after all these years, I'm very interested in the Tennessee Titans post Mike Vrabel era. It's not like they're trying to tiptoe around Mike Vrabel's no longer here. They spent money on offensive assets, offensive head coach. They are putting everything around Will Levis. And to me, this is, hey, Will, you're either going to get it done or we're going to find somebody who will next offseason. Hopkins, Ridley, Tony Pollard, up, back-to-back years, top 10 picks to upgrade this offensive line. No more Derrick Henry. So this is one of the biggest storylines that I'm all over, because if Will Levis takes any type of a step up, this Titans offense, when you look at ADP and fantasy football, this will win leagues.
Yeah. I could see this being like a Jameis Winston type year. From Levi's, where he's throwing 30 touchdowns or maybe 25, 30 touchdowns, but like 30 picks, left and right. Cause that's what he showed last year. He had that first performance where he was just throwing darts over the field. Then it was a lot of you could see the arm talent. You could see, his pure athleticism, but there's a lot of sloppy play out of him. And I think that's what we're going to get. But I mean, he's got Ridley now. He's still got Hopkins. They bring in Tyler Boyd. Treylon Burks is just sitting there as their fourth wide receiver. They took him, first round a couple years ago. Chig is still there, who I like. Josh Weil, I kind of like too. So they also bring in Pollard. So I like this offense. They could be just slinging it all around. This is probably going to be a good offense for fantasy football, just because they're going to be slinging it. Now, if your league is killing you for interceptions, like -2, -3, you're getting -6 for like a 0.6, like one Yahoo league I play in. That could burn you for sure. But I could see Mason Rudolph. Maybe, there is definitely a chance Levis fucking just implodes at some point and Mason Rudolph steps in. He played fairly competent stepping in for the Steelers last year. No. Don't give me that shit, bro. Fucking he stepped in for fucking Pickett last year, and he fucking he made George Pickens go last year. So why not? Why can't fucking he step in for fucking Willie? It's either going to be Willie Levis, he'll stay the whole season, or it's going to be, like I say, Willie fucking Fubu's, and then we're going to see Mason Rudolph, Mason Rudolph come in and step in and start slinging. Rudolph again is like is fucking Matt Damon from School Ties.
I just think look, unless Will Levis absolutely implodes, like they've shown us everything that like they had a chance to take a quarterback in this draft and they passed. This was a very quarterback rich class. Like I think they believe in Levis. Brian Callahan, for what it's worth, coach, speak or not, he said, well, Levis has been impressive. He said the other day, I think he's hard at work over the offseason and it's really paid off for him. So, I mean, I don't know. Levis could be like Drew Lock, right? I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. Drew Lock came in, similar situation where the year he came in, he played like the last 6 games of the season, played really well, had one really good game against the Texans, and everyone was all excited for him to be like a guy the next season, and he completely imploded, and it was just a disaster. So there's definitely a range of possibilities. I've already staked my claim. My guy in this offense is Calvin Ridley, finished as PPR wide receiver 17. Brian Callahan came out and said they're going to deploy him similar to the Jamar Chase role. And in terms of his ability to move around the formation, use him in motion, he's got a unique skill set, great quickness. So I really like Calvin Ridley. I mean, for what it's worth, it feels like people like he finished as wide receiver 17 last year, but it didn't feel like he did. And he's being drafted as wide receiver 33. I don't really get it. He's for what it's worth, he's going to be in a better offense this year, in my opinion. The Jaguars were one of the worst offenses to watch ever. No creativity. It just was bad. And I just don't like how they used him, but Calvin Ridley last year, 136 targets. He eclipsed 1,000 yards after being away from football for a year and a half. He was 16th in most routes and ran in the NFL, one. He got to the end zone 8 times and he dropped a few. So I don't really get his cost at wide receiver 33. I know DeAndre Hopkins is there, but I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to help him, not hurt him. Like Hopkins is going to draw probably double teams, and I think that's only going to play a better factor in Ridley being successful. I know there's guys like Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. I don't have a ton of metrics to provide you on those guys. I do provide Pollard. I do prefer Pollard, and that's all I'll really say on that.
Levis, quarterback 23 right now in the FFPC Fantasy Pros contest, up 67.3 spots. Meanwhile, Justin Fields just talked about him down 15.5. So people were drafting Justin Fields over, and a lot of other guys over Will Levis, but it seems like now that we're getting close to when it matters, Will Levis ADP, we're starting to see a spike. And it's not about the game that he had, first game he pops, that was all DeAndre Hopkins yards after the catch. I don't have anything. He threw some nice I just don't have I'm not wowed by Will Levis. What I'm wowed by, not what he did on the field last year. I'm wowed by everything this team did in the offseason to provide Will Levis every opportunity to succeed. Yeah, that's what I'm wowed by, and that's what I'm buying into. Brian Callahan, even they brought in Brian Callahan's father, Bill Callahan, one of the best offensive line head coaches ever in NFL history. So, Will Levis, all he has to do is play competent football, and he has the playmakers around him to return heavily on that ADP.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing. I'm not like super high that I think Levis is going to be amazing, but I do think that, to Anthony's point, like they bring an offensive minded guru when it comes to the offensive line in Callahan's father, and I'm excited to see this offense. I said it before and I'll say it again. I think from a standpoint of like fantasy points and just overall offensive efficiency and just play in general, I think this is going to be a top 15 offense. That's my bold statement going into this year. I think this is going to be a top 15 offense this year.
Let's go to another headline. Carolina Panthers. And I think there's a lot of other, we can rope in other running back battles, other running back, even talking about the Carolina or the Tennessee Titans, that running back room. But the Carolina Panthers running back room is a big time storyline, as is the health of Jonathan Brooks. Steve, we're going to take it first.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks coming off the ACL tear, first running back taken in the draft. Very, very talented player coming out of Texas. I've been clicking on him. I like the upside. These guys, it seems like it's mostly a clean tear, right? It's not like an MCL. It's not a bunch of different ligaments. So we just saw Breece Hall. They managed him well with that. The Jets, I've talked about that, how the Jets brought in Dalvin Cook. They gave Cook some carries early on. They let Breece slowly incorporate, and then they finally let him go. So could be something similar with Brooks. We saw Miles Sanders last year be a huge bust. Chuba Hubbard was outperforming him. I don't mind if I'm taking Brooks. I'm going to take Chuba Hubbard maybe a little bit later. Maybe he starts like 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks. So that's kind of how I would approach it. I'm not worried about Miles Sanders at all. I just, he was just performed so badly last year. He's potentially could be cut and end up somewhere else as well. Yeah. So, I like Brooks' talent. I just think you may have to wait a little while before he performs. But when he gets in there, I mean, we saw what they did with Rachaad White last year in Tampa. Dave Canales coming over now to Carolina. So, I mean, Brooks could just eat up all those targets. So I like Brooks. I think you may have to be patient with him, but I like the talent and I like going after him. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, so there's 4 running backs in this room. To Steve's point, Miles Sanders might not even make this team. We've been talking about it for a while, but I do think my thought on it's changed slightly, right? So you have Jonathan Brooks, Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and then you have Jonathan Brooks. And Rashad Penny, right? Rashad Penny comes over. He was a running back with Canales when Canales was in Seattle. So they do have familiarity there. The latest report is, look, Jonathan Brooks is placed on the NFI list, and so he's done. And he has to be activated before week 1, or else he's got to miss at least 4 games. So we'll see if that affects. But Chuba Hubbard is a nice guy to grab at his cost right now. And Chuba Hubbard, for what it's worth, Canales said was the MVP of spring. Now, again, coach speak for what it's worth, but I do think it says a lot when you're saying he was the best player. Not talking about usage or all these different things, but just the fact that he stood out is encouraging. And so it appears he's getting the most of the first team reps right now. Miles Sanders, some stuff on him. Sheena Quick of Fox Sports said that he's had a lot of explosive runs in camp. This is a new coaching staff. So, I mean, who really knows? He could make this team. I mean, this isn't the same regime of last year. I'm not drafting Miles Sanders, that's for sure. But it wouldn't surprise me if he eats into this workload if they don't think Chuba Hubbard can be a 3-down back with Brooks being injured. So, there's a lot to unpack with this room, but I think Chuba is at a nice value. And I'm still drafting Jonathan Brooks, but I'd be a little bit hesitant and hopefully hope that his ADP drops a little bit more with people coming around to the news. So,
Brooks on the placed on the NFI list, not the PUP, not IR, which is good news, but there's a chance that he could miss some early time. You bring up Hubbard. Hubbard was very inefficient last year. Miles Sanders wasn't a blip on the radar, and I believe they brought in Rashad Penny, right?
Yeah.
I
liked Rashad Penny last year. He just didn't get a chance. He never got a chance to shit.
He might be the wild card in here where nobody's expecting it, and he could emerge on top of this depth chart. But, like, Jonathan Brooks in fantasy, he's the guy I'm going after because one healthy, he profiles as a do-it-all back. And he's obviously the future in this offense. It's a young offense. They just brought in Deontay, who's more of the veteran receiver here. But you look at Leggett, the quarterback, they're skill position players. They're young. They can grow and they develop. It's just a matter of when will we see Jonathan Brooks on the field? Because price point wise, he's not exactly cheap. And I think this is why we do these ADP mover shows and why they're valuable, because like the community will tell us what rumors they're buying into. So right now we just don't really have any information on Jonathan Brooks, but you can get him, despite the NFI list, he's up 5.4 spots this month. He's going as a 77th overall player in the FFPC Fantasy Pros contest. So you're paying a price, but this could potentially cash in because if he is indeed the RB1 on this team and he takes the stranglehold of this backfield, that's not going to be hard to do. Again, Chuba Hubbard, he had a couple of nice fantasy games the past couple of years, very inefficient. He could potentially finish as a top 24 running back.
So, I mean, and one thing here, Ronaldo, yeah, that you are true. Miles Sanders, I mean, Chuba definitely took that backfield over, but it is a new coaching staff. And Anthony Canales was the coach for Rashad Penny. So there is some familiarity there.
Yep.
Jonathan Brooks in 4-for-4 ADP for the FFPC. Running backs that go around him. DeAndre Swift is the first running back ahead of him. Najee Harris is the first running back behind him. Raheem Mostert, Zach Moss, Jalen Warren. I would say I prefer Jonathan Brooks over every guy on that list except Najee Harris. I don't know how you guys feel, but I prefer Najee over Jonathan, but I don't want anything to do with DeAndre Swift, Zach Moss.
I would say probably Connor too. Okay. Well, Connor's going in the 7th round too, right around that spot. So I would say Connor, and I agree, Najee Harris as well.
One more thing on this backfield, I believe they can release Miles Sanders, and they'll save some cap money over the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. There wasn't a lot of guaranteed money on his deal when he signed, which is that's kind of how I felt with the DeAndre Swift signing, which is funny because they both come over from the Eagles and they cash in after being behind that offensive line. But I mean, the money talks. Nothing matters but the guaranteed money. So
I don't think Sanders
I'm looking at it now, and if they were to,
I was going to say, I don't think
sorry,
Sanders
hold on. If they were to,
go ahead, finish.
Go ahead. No. Well, okay. So dead cap hit of 2.9 million if they cut him, but they save, I think 13 million total. And he's yes. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to cut him, to be honest.
Yeah, you can't get beat out by Chuba Hubbard, and I don't know what the hell happened. I just think he was just maybe unhappy. He got shipped out of Philly, ends up in Carolina, a dirt shit team, and. I just think Chuba just outproduced him. That was it. I mean, it's his. I don't know maybe he ends up in San Diego or something like that. We'll see.
Next storyline, we're going to dig into Anthony Richardson. Is Anthony Richardson healthy? Where is he in terms of progressing and that shoulder? And also, can Anthony Richardson, because my early take is I believe if he stays healthy and plays up to his potential and in the Steichen offense, he could break fantasy football and finish as the overall quarterback one.
Go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say, Joel Erickson, who is I guess like he's some sort of, I think he works for the Indy Star. He showed some clips of Richardson throwing on air yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, he looked bad, man. Like he was missing a lot of throws, and it does worry me that he had the injury and then he came back for like minicamp OTAs and they shut him down again because that shoulder started to bark up a little bit again. It's like forgetting if he can stay healthy or not. Like I just worry that like is his arm, like I'm watching it right now. I didn't pull the clip, but like I mean he's overthrowing guys on air. Like, so I know it's early and like, look, maybe it'll take some time, but like it does.
It does win no fantasy championships with that fucking attitude, Pete. Come on now.
I'm just saying, like, I take Anthony Richardson in best ball. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I probably won't own a single share of him in redraft.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's so early in the game.
Yeah.
I like Richardson's mechanic. I mean, I kind of had my doubts. I mean, Anthony, we talked about all last year. I had my doubts about Richardson coming in as a passer, and I think he's really honed in. He's really worked on his mechanics. He's very, very solid. I like all the weapons around him. I like Steichen. Steichen's already saying he's going to, use him as a runner. That's his superpower, which is excellent news, despite this shoulder injury. So, maybe they run him more. Maybe his shoulder is a little off, but maybe they run him more. So maybe it's a good thing. I mean, the injury is the biggest concern. Yeah. It's definitely risky, but there's so much upside. Yeah. He could just blow out. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be tough to get past, Allen. Allen seemingly gets that number 1 spot every year, but definitely top 3, something like that with the rushing touchdowns, the rushing yards, playing with Steichen in that offense. We've seen the success he's had with Hurts. So, yeah, I think you have to, if you're chasing upside, you're trying to win tournaments, trying to win championships, I think you got to go after Anthony Richardson.
Richardson, in the 2 games he played fully, averaged 27.4 fantasy points. Latest news on Richardson, Steichen telling the press he does not plan on limiting Anthony Richardson as a runner. Can Anthony Richardson be a little bit smarter? Sometimes it takes quarterbacks a few years, but when it's all said and done, I'm a big Steichen guy. Look what he did for Minshew. Look what he did for Herbert. Look what he did for Hurts. They have the weapons all over the place. He hasn't played it down yet with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I'm very, very bullish on this offense. I have Anthony Richardson ranked ahead of Lamar Jackson in my fantasy rankings right now. So I'm all in on this guy. And again, I play in a lot of these tournaments like Steve, and points matter and ceiling matters. Anthony Richardson is the type of guy who can grow your bankroll in one season in these high stakes contests.
So, look, it has nothing taking Richardson. Look, he's talented. Obviously, I'm sitting here talking about the accuracy issues, and it is a worry.
Lamar had accuracy issues.
And I'm sure he's going to work that out. But the facts are the facts. Like Anthony Richardson had 13 injuries already in his career. He's 22 years old. 13 injuries. I mean, that's a concern. This is a guy that he is special because he runs the football. If you're saying, well, can he be smarter? Can he be this? Can he be that? Sure, but that's not going to get you touchdowns in the red zone with the quarterback, right? That means Jonathan Taylor scoring those red zone touchdowns, and that means his ceiling is not nearly as high. If you're telling him not to be himself,
but he's not
going to be the guy that you want him to be.
What were the 13 injuries?
Steichen said he's not going to limit him.
And that worries me too, because I think he's going to get hurt. Go
draft Derek Carr.
I'll read you the injuries.
Go draft Derek Carr.
In 2018, he had an AC sprain in his shoulder. Okay, he injured his hamstrings 2 times, one in the offseason, the other in season. Okay, so that's 4 injuries right there. Okay. 2021 concussion, 2021 knee injury, came back. Then he had a knee injury again where he tore his meniscus. The first one was a sprain where he was dancing and he sprained his knee. Okay. Another right knee surgery. Okay. He had a meniscectomy, cleared in March. Ankle injury, another ankle injury, another hamstring, another stinger, another concussion, shoulder. I understand the upside and I get it. If you're right on him, he is really going to pay off. But for me, you better be drafting a quarterback behind him that you feel comfortable. And if I'm taking Richardson,
absolutely.
If I'm taking Richardson, I'm probably taking a quarterback in that 12 to 15 range, because I just don't trust it like that. It just worries me. So I get it. In best ball formats, I'll take him. In redraft, though, I'm probably avoiding him.
Yeah, and you are right there. Normally when you draft a quarterback high, you're not drafting a backup at all, or you're waiting really late. When you are drafting Anthony Richardson, or when I am handcuffing him.
Yeah. And you could do it with multiple different guys. Again, you get Rodgers, you get Stafford, Cousins. It's easy to get those guys.
And Jamie, he has major accuracy issues. There's a training camp report. In 4 plays, he threw 3 interceptions.
But you know what the beautiful thing about Josh Allen?
Talking about Josh Allen.
I know. But you know what the difference is? Josh Allen doesn't get hurt.
Let's just get right into fucking Bills.
Yeah, let's roll the Bills. One more thing. He said Ronaldo says I want him to get him at quarterback 5, but if he drops, I'll get him. I think he's pretty much saying he did a draft last week and he was there in the 7th round. Yeah, 7th round. That's not bad value. I'm okay taking Richardson if he dips on his ADP and I'm in a draft where it just happens, but I just don't see myself grabbing him very often in my drafts this year. That's just me personally. Anthony Zabe comes in here and says so much talent with Richardson, but injuries are there way too early. So, let's say
round, 6th round. I don't mind 6th round for him.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. It depends on my team. I'm not drafting Anthony Richardson in a redraft league with guys like Devon A-Chain and other volatile guys. If I have stability and I have like Mike Evans and I have some guys that have high floors, I'll shoot for a Richardson with my roster construction. But generally speaking, the way I've been drafting early so far, I don't see my tolerance for Richardson because I have upside guys already. So, but that leads us into the Bills, and we're coming up on an hour here. So why don't we jump into that?
So another huge storyline: Buffalo Bills. No more Stephon Diggs. North of I believe 160 vacated targets. They bring in, and obviously the storyline is Bills pass catchers, Bills wide receiver room. Where's this help for Josh Allen? Look at that. Keon Coleman in a draft. Guys like Mac Hollins, Chase Claypool, KJ Hamler. MVS, even Andy Isabella found his way on this roster. Khalil Shakir is the most tenured pass catcher who's been here with Josh Allen, I believe the longest. And then Curtis Samuel, who's more of a little bit of a gadget guy. Guys, who the hell are we drafting as far as the Bills wide receivers? And you want to rope tight ends in there because this is one of the more volatile pass catching groups, and it's also a polarizing storyline because whoever does emerge as the top Josh Allen pass catching target will have fantasy football value.
So I have a bunch of notes here. So let me provide some of the tidbits from camp so far, and then I'll pass it to Steve, and he can kind of give his take on who he prefers. But Thomas DeLucas, who is on the Cover One podcast, he's on the Bills beat. He said Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid are going to be monsters this year. They're the guys that have stood out in camp so far. They've both been very good at their respective crafts, and they're going to be featured in the offense in a major way. Brady, the offensive coordinator, came out and said Khalil Shakir has shined and stepped up so far in camp. It's about consistency with him, but there is no clear wide receiver 1 and 2 in this offense. Keon Coleman's been getting some work in the slot and outside, but it seems like he's got a little bit of a ways to go. There's been some flashy touchdowns, and I've seen some of his reps in camp. The one surprising thing is Curtis Samuel has been getting reps at running back. He's had a lot of catches downfield, but he's mainly been playing in the Y role, so not much in the slot. So it looks like Shakir and Dalton Kincaid are going to be the guys that own that slot. What I do worry about as a Shakir guy is in 2 wide receiver sets. Shakir looks like he might be the odd man out, and it looks like it's going to most likely be Curtis Samuel and whoever wins that other side of the job, whether it could be Mac Hollins. I mean, Mac Hollins has actually stood out in camp, what I've read as well. So we'll see.
Let's hope not Mac Hollins.
It wouldn't surprise me. I said this to Anthony.
I like MVS.
But I think
I mean, that's not good for Keon. Then obviously, I mean, can't beat out fucking Mac Hollins. Come on,
Keon is a guy that's going to be raw. That I think if you draft him, like he's going to pay off later in the season, but he's not going to start off hot, in my opinion. But I do think I said this to Anthony a couple weeks ago offline. Crazy enough, I think this is the best collection of overall talent at the wide receiver position that Josh Allen's had. I know you have Diggs and Gabe Davis, but they've had nothing else past those guys. And Gabe Davis, outside of a couple big games in the playoffs, didn't do really much of anything.
Cole Beasley balled the fuck out.
He did.
Cole Beasley was solid.
And so did John Brown. John Brown.
Gabe Davis wasn't a thing when that happened. Gabe Davis didn't even have that big game. I just think that collection-wise, this is a pretty solid, high-floor group of guys.
Yeah. So like Josh Allen's career.
Okay.
What?
I don't know.
Solid high floor. That's Josh Allen's career. Solid.
Nah, Anthony's just trying to start a fight. Just
pretty damn solid.
Steve, just tell us who are you targeting?
Well, it's been Shakir for me. He's my most owned Bills receiver going in the 10th round. I love getting the Kincaid Allen stack with the potential of that. Obviously Diggs is gone, so got all those vacated targets. I do like Curtis Samuel a little bit too. He has the history with Joe Brady in Carolina, so yeah, Curtis Samuel will move all around. They will probably get unique with him. We've kind of seen that last year with Deontay Hardy a little bit when they had utilizing him. So yeah, I agree. Like they got all these different guys. I mean, they're all pretty damn solid. So let's see who ends up starting for them. But for me, it's definitely Shakir. I think Shakir it's his time now. He's shown flashes in the past. He played good last year down the stretch. So they're talking about getting him in the slot, which would be awesome because we saw Beasley perform really, really well in that role in the past. So Keon Coleman, again, I think he could be like a really good red zone guy. No doubt Allen's is going to throw it up to him. Expect Keon to come down with it. But I just think he's going a little early where I like to wait on and get Shakir. So yeah, Shakir, Kincaid, but I still want to mix in a little Keon Coleman. I still want to mix in a little Curtis Samuel. Then like if I'm in the back end of a best ball, I don't mind like MVS or maybe a Matt Collins. But that's the good thing about Allen. Like you have to take Allen early, 3rd round usually now, which is down around last year. He's going like the 2nd round, but then you could stack with multiple different guys. So it's easy to stack the Bills this year. Whereas last year you had to take Allen, the 2nd, and then you had to take Diggs in the 2nd. So you didn't always get that. And there really was nobody that was great besides that.
Yeah. When it comes to this pass catching room, I'm pushing the chips on Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman, he has some work to do. College tape suggests that as well. And everybody you see on Twitter, he runs a 3-yard out and catches it. Everybody loves the rookie receivers and everybody pops. Oh, he's the wide receiver 1. I'm pumping the brakes on rookie hype here. I'm going to lean into Khalil Shakir because he already has that pre-existing rapport. And as far as I'm taking like any late round dart throws, it's MVS. More so in best ball. Now, I know like people don't like the distinguishing a guy just for best ball. That's the easy way out, but that's how you have to play MVS. He's going to give you 2 or 3 spike weeks, and where you're getting him in best ball leagues, he's going to return a lot of value on his ADB. But as far as like redraft leagues, Khalil Shakir is the only really interesting Bills receiver. Otherwise, I'm pivoting. I'll take some Dalton Kincaid. He's going to be the number 1 or number 2 player on this offense in targets. I mean, barring injury, awesome. I don't see a world where he's not a top 2 guy on this team in targets. It's just, I don't care about Dawson Knox. I don't care what the reports say. I want to see it happen when it matters this season, not last season.
Yeah, I think Kincaid and Allen could be really, really special. Now, maybe that's a year off, but it's possible it happens this year. I think Kincaid is such a really, really talented player. Now, there's still talks of Dawson Knox eating up snaps, but if they want to freaking push comes to shove, they got to get Kincaid involved. I think he's a special player.
And again, 160 plus vacated targets. They're all not going to go Kincaid's way, but there are some targets to be had in this offense. And this is another situation. The Bills defense, they're going to be bad. For years under McDermott, they've had a lot of talent. Well, they've been very, very good. Last year, all banged up. They moved off a lot of players. What does this mean? That means they're going to have to throw the football.
Yeah, but they're also getting Milano back healthy. He's a huge.
But in fact, we want them to throw the football in fantasy, though.
Oh yeah, we do. I'm just saying. I don't know if they're going to be bad. I think McDermott did a pretty good job. They lost
their whole secondary.
Well, they still got they lost their 2 safeties and they lost
Tre'Davious White. That's their whole secondary.
But he's been banged up most of the time anyway, and their safeties have been banged up. I mean, getting Milano back will be big. Von Miller, if he could stay healthy, there's some questions for sure, but I still think they'll be fairly solid.
I've said what I said about Kincaid. I prefer tight ends going around him. That's just me. I think he's going to be featured in the offense, and that's great. But look, for what it's worth, like the splits just weren't that great when Dawson Knox was healthy. Like there was a decent drop off in production and points per game when Knox was healthy. They like him on this team. The reports that I read said that Knox was running with the first team at least day 1. I know that it's early, and like I said, Kincaid is going to
you have to kind of envision like how
I
things are
know.
gonna change,
I get things are going to change, and I understand he's going to be featured in this offense. But Dawson Knox is a red zone threat too, and so I do worry that like
He's
there's
also a threat to
comfortability there.
drop.
They-
He's
they-
also a
they-
threat
they-
to drop big passes.
They
too.
like him so much that they made him take a pay cut.
after they extended him.
Right.
Okay, guys take pay
After?
cuts.
Was it
Guys
after?
yeah, this was after they extended him.
All right.
So they extended him and then they gave him a pay cut. And look, I understand, but they play different skill sets. Dawson Knox is going to get almost 90% of the inline snaps. Kincaid is not going to be the inline guy. So I just worry that if Khalil Shakir does step up in the slot, that he's going to be on the field more than people expect. And Kincaid could end up could find himself not on the field as much as we think because he's not an inline guy. Like he's more of a move tight end. Like he is not that's not his skill set. So if we are sitting here saying that we think Khalil Shakir could be the guy to own, well, he's a slot receiver. He's not generally in college. He played a little bit outside, but it's not his forte unless he just gets better at that. Like he's going to sit in the slot. So unless you're going to run two slots and you're spreading shit out wide and you're running, I just don't know how much Kincaid, I just think he's going to be affected and it just worries me. So I like Kincaid, but Kyle Pitts is going behind him. I like Kyle Pitts. I like Mark Andrews. I like Travis Kelce. I like Trey McBride. I like all those guys more than
Kincaid will outperform Trey McBride. I'm so sick of the Trey McBride hype. I'm so sick.
I don't understand how
Trey
you can
McBride's
be
good.
sick.
Trey McBride's good.
I don't
Yeah, he's
understand
good,
how you can be sick
but-
of it. He can play inline and he
All
can
right.
play in the slot. He's gonna find himself on the field.
But you
There's no
want to know
competition
what the Cardinals have in front of McBride, the Bills don't? Marvin Harrison
Marvin
Jr.
Harrison Jr. Okay, totally get it. But those targets got to go somewhere else. It's not.
And so
gonna
do
all just be
Diggs. So do
Marvin Harrison
Diggs.
Jr.
So does Diggs' targets got to go somewhere.
And they have other receivers there. Like I just again wait, so let me ask you then, like, because this is me honestly like sitting there and like putting you on the spot a little bit. Like, if you like Khalil Shakir as much as you're saying, then how do him and Kincaid? How are they? On
I'm
the
not
field at the
saying
same
fucking
time?
Khalil Shakir is gonna like be a top 12 receiver though.
Dude,
No, but you're saying he's the
I
receiver
like
to
his
own.
value.
You're
If
saying he's
Kincaid,
the receiver to
Pete,
own
I'll answer your question. If Kincaid and Shakir, they're two best weapons, they're going to find ways to get them on the field at the same time and get them both involved. I mean, it's as simple as that. Shakir can play in two wide sets. He doesn't have to play.
But I
three
worry
wide
that
sets.
Curtis Samuel is that guy that they're already putting him in at running back. In
We
camp.
also
They're gonna
seen
find ways to
Curtis
get him.
Samuel struggle with injuries throughout his career.
That
so
is correct.
And he's
That's
never
why
know.
I don't
Just
want
a guy.
Curtis Samuel. I get that. I'm
And
just
then
saying.
it might be Curtis Samuel and Shakir with Kincaid. You never know. I mean, that's the way they could line it up too. Doesn't have
I
to
will
be
put
Deion
it-
or
listen,
Mac Hollins or MVS.
I will put a pizza bet right now with you and Anthony,
Well,
or
I'm-
just
I'm in.
Anthony,
I'm in.
on Trey McBride and
PPR.
That's
and
very close for me. So I'm not
PPR.
going to take that.
PPR. I'll fucking.
But
take it.
I'll take Kincaid over Pitts. I'll do that.
I won't.
I will. I'll take Kincaid over
I'm on
Pitts.
Pitts over Kincaid, but Kincaid over McBride.
Yeah, I like Kincaid.
Okay, but then let me
Are we
ask you.
logging these bets? We need to log these fucking
I have
bets.
a spreadsheet in our old bets
All right.
tracker, so I put some down. I'll make sure to do it. But here's my thing: like, if you truly feel that you'd rather Pitts over Kincaid, you can get Pitts after Kincaid. So why would you
Well,
ever draft Kincaid?
because I
You
want
gotta-
exposure to other
You
players.
got to mix it up. Yeah.
All right.
Like
Well-
if I draft 30 teams, do I want Kincaid and all of them? No, I want some.
What we
Pitts,
saw from
Mark
Kincaid
Andrews.
last year, honestly, was more impressive than what Pitts ever did. Even his rookie season.
Pitts
Wow.
over 1,000 fucking yards with Marcus Mariota is pretty
It's
impressive.
a bunch of fucking bullshit.
Why? Because he smashed your
Garbage,
Jets.
bunch of garbage
That's why.
points
You
and
don't
shit like
like
that.
Pitts because he
I'm not
fucking
saying
had
I don't
his-
like
He had a
Pitts.
career game against the Jets.
Well, I mean, fuck,
That's
course, a
probably
lot
why.
of people, fucking
Oh,
backup tight ends had career games against the Jets. Fuck, a lot of people have career games against the Jets. But what I'm saying is, fucking, I prefer Kincaid over Pitts. I'm just saying Kincaid's season last year was more impressive than anything Pitts has ever done in my eyes.
Really?
What?
Yeah, the way he looked,
I
just the
didn't
way
think
he looked, the way they looked.
Okay.
To me,
But
I
I
just
don't.
think Kincaid's a better tight end.
I don't know. Tight end, sure. Like Pitts is probably more like a wide receiver, closer to a wide receiver than Kincaid is to a wide receiver. So I get what you're saying.
I
but
think Kincaid's just a better player overall. Whatever you wanted to route running, hands, everything.
All right. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't completely disagree with you because look,
Not to say Pitts can't fucking blow him out the water, but
So back.
I think Pitts could blow out, but I got to see him first. Like, I think he's way overhyped still. So we'll see.
The Bills found a way to get it done. Khalil Shakir last year had the 13th most slot snaps, 398. Last year, Dalton Kincaid at his position, 348 slot snaps, second most. They were finding ways to get them both on the field.
There you go.
Whether it's on the same time or not, they were both top, Kincaid top 2 in tight end slot snaps. Shakir,
Thank God for a
top
fucking
13.
analytics department.
I
Thank
get
God
it, but
for
I
that.
think if Shakir steps up, I don't know.
Well, you got to think, dude. It's Josh Allen. I mean, he's got room to fucking make those both guys fucking smash. I mean, it's not like we're talking about Gardner Minshew here.
I like Kincaid. I'm not down on Kincaid. I will be drafting Kincaid this year. I just prefer other guys around him.
I mean, McBride is nice. I gotta say, Andrews is nice in that spot too. So I see what you're saying.
I would like to. I really want to hear Anthony explain the McBride thing though. Like, is it that you feel like he's overhyped? I think part of Anthony's feeling is Anthony dislikes some of the dynasty takes, and I think McBride is a dynasty darling right now in the community, and people have like salivated over him.
He doesn't like the hype when people talk about him.
I think that's got to be what it is.
Yeah.
We've seen 2 years of McBride. He's had his most productive games when a lot of people were like, he was the wide receiver 1 a lot last season. Now you're telling me they're going to have Wilson, Zay Jones, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner.
Let me ask you. We talked about this the other day. What did McBride finish in total points in tight ends last year?
I understand. Tight end 7.
Okay. And how many targets and catches did Zach Ertz have before he left? He had over like 40 or 50. He had like 40 or 50 receptions before he left, and that was the first 7 weeks. And McBride was able to come in after Ertz left and still finish as that high.
So you're telling me that the Cardinals with Kyler Murray and James Conner, they're going to throw we spent a top 5 pick on Marvin. So we're going to see Marvin get 10 plus targets a game and Trey McBride, because those big games, McBride was getting 9, 11, 14 targets.
I'm asking you,
that much?
Is Marvin Harrison Jr. not a rookie though? Like I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I do. And I think he's going to be fed, but like, are we not supposed to expect that like their pass catchers? We talk about Zay Jones. He's a good complimentary player. We talk about Greg Dortch. Like, it's all fun.
At the end of the day, Zay Jones, Greg Dortch suck. It's going to be a lot of McBride and a lot of Harrison.
I expect Keon Coleman, rookie, to struggle. I don't expect Marvin Harrison Jr., Hall of Fame father pedigree, top 5 pick, to struggle out the gate. No.
Yeah, but
let me ask you.
I think there's
Marquise Brown had 101 targets last year. Do you think that Zach Ertz had 43? That's where you get 43 targets for Zach Ertz. Boom. Go ahead and give that to Marvin Harrison Jr. Marquise Brown, 101 targets last year. So now if all those go to Marvin Harrison Jr., that's 143, and you haven't taken anything from Trey McBride, who had 106 last year.
Okay, so
Rondell Moore had 62. Rondell Moore had 62. Michael Wilson had 58. Greg Dortch had 51. Like, there are targets.
But are we factoring in? Do they throw less? Would they help their Kyler Murray?
Because but they still didn't throw. They still were low in the league for passing.
All right, so Trey McBride, he's your tight end 1. We get
it. No, Kelsey's my tight end 1.
I don't like that.
He's my tight end 1. He's my fucking tight end 1.
No, I don't see that.
And Mark Andrews, my tight end 2.
I mean, it could happen. I just don't see it.
Here, let me provide something.
You're
to
gonna be
you.
fucking killing each other next week.
The Arizona Cardinals, I'm not gonna add it all up because I'm sitting here at a list and they don't have it marked at what rank. They're in the bottom 22 for passing attempts last year. Will that go up? You're sitting here saying, well, maybe Kyler, if Kyler's gonna run and he's healthy, they don't throw it as much. They were still bottom in the league.
Right.
You don't think that they get better? You don't think that they throw the ball a little bit more?
We hope.
Yeah. I would think they were like 22nd in the league last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
22nd and ADOT too.
They were 23rd in the league for passing attempts. And Steve just said 22nd in ADOT. Like, come on. Like, you don't think that, if anything, I think that they throw the ball more, not less. So
All right.
that's all I got to say.
Well, let's
That's
see
it.
this pizza bet play out.
We will.
Pete, do we make that? What was that bet that when I was on vacation? The 6 touchdowns,
was,
Jonnu Smith.
John,
make that
Smith,
official?
No, we said 5. We said you
5,
came in and
all
said
right,
4,
all right, 5,
and then
5.
I said
yeah,
all right,
five's fair.
Yeah, the line's 4.5. So if he gets 5,
right,
I win. If he's
all right,
under,
put that down. Make sure we get that one in. All right,
I'll get it in.
Well, let's.
I think we're done arguing.
so we got one more, or is that it?
No, I think we're good.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Let's. What?
No, I said we're good.
All right. We can go one more, but we're heading. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
We're pushing over almost 90 minutes though. But these are, at least we're fucking having some good content here.
Ronaldo, you got to come to Jersey, man, or New York. You know, a ton of good bar pies, a lot of thin crust. You'd love it.
But we're going to wrap up from here. Talked about latest news, training camp storylines. Some of the news did factor into the storylines as well. We're all fired up here, and we probably getting Hawk back on Monday, so we're going to be a fully loaded crew. We'll be back, obviously, Monday, same time, same place. Remember to subscribe, like, hit the alert icon, everything in between. For Steve, Pete, and myself, this is the Face Off Sports Network. If you want to win, do not draft Trey McBride. We will see you Monday.